Before anything else, do that quick move that strengthens our content a lot. Hit the like button now and check if you're already subscribed. It sounds simple, but it pushes the video to more fans who want to understand what's happening behind the scenes with the Golden State Warriors. No filter, no fluff, and with the perspective of someone who knows a trade can change everything overnight. Deal? Then come with me, because today's topic isn't just a rumor. It's a scenario, it's urgency, and it's a window of opportunity. There are teams that move through the season as if they're just managing energy, waiting for the right moment. And there are teams that live as if every week is a question. Are we going to accept the limit of what we already have, or are we going to go get what's missing to become a real threat? The Warriors are right at that point. It's a roster with weight, with experience, with names who've already seen the league's ceiling. But the NBA doesn't forgive nostalgia. The league forces you to stay current. And when you look at fast attacks, at teams that score easily, at rosters that are taller, more physical, and longer, you realize the Warriors can compete in plenty of games. But without adjustments, they're trapped by one cruel detail. When the main engine rests, feels any discomfort, or simply isn't in that absurd mode, the team becomes far too predictable. And that's why the trades to add talent conversation has gained momentum. It's not about making a move just to make a move. It's about understanding the maths of a title run. The Warriors are a veteran team, and as much as that brings game reading and toughness, it also brings a ticking clock. Every month that passes reduces the margin for error. Every missed window makes the next one more expensive. And in the NBA, when you wait too long, the market stops meeting you out of willingness and starts charging you out of desperation. The difference is that this time, the Warriors aren't entering this conversation empty-handed. There's a set of young pieces, tradable salaries, and draft picks that puts the franchise at the table with anyone. And that changes everything, because when a team has real flexibility, it doesn't depend on a miracle. It depends on courage and judgment. Courage to give up assets, judgment to avoid paying a superstar price for a shelf-below player. A lot of people like to start at the top, the huge names, the superstars who would make the NBA world shake. And yes, there's a dream list every fan imagines. But dreams, in practice, run into two things: availability and timing. Not every star wants out right now. Not every team gives up its biggest asset midstream. And even when they do, the trade turns into an auction. That's where the danger lives. You might leave the auction with the name, but without a future. So the discussion has become smarter. What if the Warriors target players one step below those monsters? Players who aren't the face of the team, but who solve real problems. Players who arrive and immediately change the offense, the spacing, the gravity in the corners, the ability to score without apologizing. Because right now, the Warriors need something that sounds small but is massive. Someone who puts points on the board without needing a perfect set. Someone who punishes when a defense is late by half a second. Someone who forces the opponent to choose between giving up a three or conceding a drive. And that's where a certain type of target fits like a glove. Big wings, reliable shooters, people with the size to rebound and, at the same time, the shot to stretch the floor. That profile doesn't just help the offense, it protects the team from that classic collapse when the pace drops. Because when the bench comes in and the game slows down, what separates teams that survive is having easy scoring. And easy scoring, a lot of the time, is simply having more spacing and more guys who bury open looks without thinking. That's why one specific name started showing up repeatedly in behind-the-scenes chatter. A 6'10" wing known for hitting threes in volume with elite efficiency over the course of his career. The type of player who, at his best, becomes a quiet nightmare. You think you're controlling the offense, then he drills two in a row, grabs a long rebound, runs the floor, and suddenly, the game has flipped. That kind of piece has special value for a veteran team because it reduces the effort required to score. The Warriors don't need someone who does everything. They need someone who does a lot in a very specific way. Punish from deep, cash in on doubles, attack closeouts, and above all, bring that physical presence the team sometimes lacks. On paper, the fit is tempting. Because think about it. You put a wing that size out there stretching the floor, and instantly life gets easier for the guards. Passing lanes look cleaner. Doubles get more expensive. The opponent hesitates before leaving the corner. And when the opponent doesn't leave, the inside game can breathe. It's the domino effect the Warriors have been chasing for a while. It's not just more points, it's better shot quality. But the NBA isn't a video game. There's a part that destroys most ideas: money. A big contract isn't just a number. A big contract is mechanics. To make it fit, you need to send out salary. And when the target's salary is massive, the trade starts to become a puzzle. It's no longer 1-for-1. It becomes 3-for-1, sometimes 4-for-1. And then there's the other side. Instead of getting a star, the receiving team gets a pile of players. And it doesn't always have roster space. It doesn't always want that volume. It doesn't always want to complicate the rotation with guys who aren't part of the plan. So when people talk about that 6'10" shooting wing, the obstacle isn't talent. It's structure. He has a heavy contract with years left and numbers that take up a big chunk of the cap. That would force the Warriors to send a package of young players and mid-sized salaries to get close to the amount. And that's where the conversation inevitably lands on a few names who always sit at the center of the crossroads. The athletic youngster the team has tried to develop for seasons, the wing who came in as a rotation piece and still has market value, plus 1 or 2 contracts to complete the financial match. And here a dilemma shows up that's almost psychological. Which young player are the Warriors willing to put on the table? Because it's one thing to dream about a trade. It's another thing to sign the receipt. Fans often get attached to potential, and potential is seductive. It promises tomorrow, but a veteran roster demands today. And the real question isn't, can this young guy become a star? The real question is, will he become a star in the time our core needs? If the answer is maybe one day, then the market becomes an option. At the same time, there's a line you don't cross. Because if you send too many young pieces, too many picks, and still take on a huge contract, you might win a peak and lose sustainability. And the Warriors, precisely because they have that mix of youth, salaries, and picks, have a chance to act intelligently. Aim at targets that raise the team without forcing you to burn everything you have. That's why instead of locking onto only the expensive 6'10" shooter, another route started to look even more realistic. Going after a young player on the rise with a modern profile who comes in and becomes part of the future without forcing the team to dismantle its veterans. And that's where a name from New Orleans started to sound like one of those targets that just makes too much sense. A 6'8" wing, explosive, able to score on multiple levels, still young enough to grow, but ready enough to impact right now. The type of player you look at and think, this isn't just a reinforcement, this is a jump in level. And most importantly, his contract, while valuable, doesn't reach that territory that demands a truckload of salary and becomes impossible to build. It's the best of both worlds: impact and feasibility. In that hypothesis, the Warriors would be aiming at a reinforcement that solves 3 pains at once. First, scoring. The offense gets someone who creates an advantage and finishes from deep, from mid-range, and at the rim. Second, size. The team becomes less fragile on the glass and in physical battles. Third, continuity. You're not just renting a name for a short-term burst. You're bringing someone who can bridge the now and the next. But there's always one detail that decides these stories. The team that has the player needs to want to negotiate. And when a club has a young wing like that, it doesn't give him up for anything. It wants real value. And real value in the NBA almost always comes in 2 flavors: a high-upside young player and draft picks that can turn into gold when the team giving them is aging. That's why the package that floats around in this kind of conversation usually follows a very direct logic. The Warriors would give up their most coveted young player, include another young rotation piece with value, and add first-round picks spread across different years. And here's a key point. Warriors picks can be valuable precisely because the core is veteran. It's not disrespect, it's maths. As time passes and the team falls off its peak, the picks rise in value. So when you offer picks from a veteran team, the other side sees opportunity. But on the other side, there's player evaluation. And player evaluation isn't even unanimous inside the same front office. Some franchises look at the Warriors' athletic youngster and see a hidden star. Others look and see an athlete who still hasn't fully found himself. And when the evaluation is mixed, negotiations stall. Because if the team isn't convinced the young player is the centerpiece, it'll ask for more picks. It'll ask for another asset. It'll ask for that extra player you didn't want to let go. And that's where it gets dangerous. Because to get it done, the demand might become, include a young guard the Warriors really like and view as part of the next phase. And this is exactly where fans need to breathe and understand the size of the debate. How far do you go to bring in a ready, explosive modern wing? Because there's a healthy limit, and there's the point where you turn a great idea into a huge risk. In a trade scenario for that New Orleans wing, the simplest concept usually looks like athletic youngster plus promising young guard plus first-round picks. And in practice, that's the Warriors saying, we want to win now, but we also want someone who still makes sense when the current core is no longer the center of the team. It's a trade trying to unite two timelines, and at the same time, it gives the other side a base. A guard who can develop, an athletic wing to test with more freedom, and picks that can become players or become currency for more moves. But there's a layer almost nobody talks about, and it decides whether a team pulls the trigger or backs away, the internal fit in the locker room. Because it's not enough for a player to arrive and score. He needs to enter the hierarchy without breaking what works. And when you already have a roster with strong veterans, any reinforcement needs to be impactful, yes, but it also needs to adapt to the way the team plays. And that New Orleans wing, precisely because he's versatile, looks like the type of piece who can do that without demanding the team become something else. So look at how the board lays out. On one side, a very tall, proven shooting wing, expensive and financially hard to fit without becoming a massive package. On the other, a young wing on the rise with a more manageable contract that the Warriors try to chase without touching the veterans and while keeping the main structure intact. And in the middle of all of it, the question that controls every other. Which young players are the Warriors willing to sacrifice, and how many first-round picks actually make sense to put on the table for a player who isn't a superstar yet, but could get very close to that? And here's the point that turns this topic into a fire. The Warriors aren't in a comfortable position to wait too long. Because the longer you wait, the more other teams enter. The more other teams enter, the more expensive it gets. And the more expensive it gets, the higher the chance you'll have to include exactly the asset you wanted to protect. So the urgency isn't just an anxious fan thing. It's the market. It's the urgency to understand the exact moment a target is still viable before it turns into an auction. That's why, when you hear that the Warriors could be among the most active teams before the trade deadline, it's not a throwaway line. It's logic. It's the team realizing it has ammunition, it has leverage, and if it reads the situation correctly, it can transform bench pieces and future picks into a player who changes the offense immediately. The question is, which target is worth the right price without becoming an overpay? Because one thing is to spend big on an undeniable superstar. Another is to spend big on a very good player and then realize you paid a superstar price. And that's the most treacherous risk in the market. Excitement makes you confuse perfect fit with fair value. And the Warriors need to be cold. They need to choose the move that brings impact without leaving the team with no paths. And then, when you put all of this together, you start to understand why the New Orleans name gains traction. It offers a clearer route, without forcing the Warriors to stack 3 or 4 contracts just to match salary. But at the same time, it demands a future package that hurts. And when it hurts, it means it's serious. It means it's not just social media talk. It's the kind of negotiation that, if it advances, will involve names fans have learned to defend with everything they've got, and picks that can decide the team's health for the next few years. And while fans try to choose between now and tomorrow, the Warriors are trapped inside a clock that doesn't stop. The offense needs to rise a level, the rotation needs more real threat, and the market waits for no one. Because when you blink, the target that seemed possible is already somewhere else. And you're left with that feeling you missed the timing again. And it's exactly in this tension that the front office has to choose the next step. Knowing that every name put on the table changes the package, changes the negotiation, changes the weight of the picks, and even changes the way the roster will breathe when the pressure tightens. Kai returned to the court with an impressive performance, reaffirming his status as one of the most promising talents in Asian basketball. In a recent game against Kyoto, he delivered a spectacular performance, scoring 20 points, grabbing 4 rebounds, and dishing out 3 assists. These numbers not only stand out in the stats, but also showcase the constant evolution of a player who becomes more complete with each game. From the first minute, it was clear he was ready to shine. Combining height, agility, and technical skills, he dominated the paint, leaving opposing defenders without answers. His mid-range shots were sharp, a reflection of the continuous effort he dedicates to improving his game. Moreover, his court vision became evident in decisive moments, distributing assists and connecting his teammates in important plays. When the game reached its most tense moments, Kai took responsibility, showing leadership and composure. In the third quarter, he made a memorable play by dribbling past 2 defenders, converting a crucial basket, and hitting the free throw after being fouled. Plays like this not only excite the crowd, but also highlight his ability to perform under pressure, a key trait for any player with ambitions of reaching the NBA. His fans have plenty of reasons to be excited. Kai is about to hit historic milestones in the B-League. With just 76 points remaining to reach 1,000 career points, he is approaching a select group of players known for their offensive consistency. Additionally, he has already surpassed 500 rebounds, establishing himself as a dominant presence in the paint on both offense and defense. He not only protects the painted area with authority, but also creates crucial second-chance opportunities for his team. Another important achievement is nearing. He is just 4 assists away from reaching 100 assists in the league. This reinforces his ability to create opportunities and involve his teammates in strategic plays. These numbers directly reflect the impact Kai brings to the court. His combination of imposing physicality, technical ability, and tactical intelligence makes him one of the most complete players in the league. Every point, rebound, and assist brings him closer not only to records but also to the dream of playing in the NBA. His performance has caught the attention of analysts and commentators who already consider him a player capable of raising the competitive level of the B-League. Comparisons with great past big men are starting to emerge, highlighting his potential to leave a legacy in international basketball. But for Kai, more than statistics or records, the important thing is to keep evolving and making his mark in every game. Kai Sotto's future has been one of the most debated topics among fans and experts, and one of the most mentioned destinations for him in the NBA is the Golden State Warriors. The franchise's fans have already started a campaign on social media asking for his signing, believing he could be the missing piece to strengthen the team. The Warriors are known for their fast and dynamic style of play, with an emphasis on long-distance shooting and constant movement. However, one of the team's weak points has been the lack of a dominant presence in the paint, someone who can protect the defensive area, grab rebounds, and bring balance to the team. Kai fits exactly that profile. His impressive height and game-reading ability are characteristics that could transform the Warriors' performance. Moreover, his international experience, facing different styles of basketball around the world, makes him an interesting prospect for a franchise looking to refresh its roster without sacrificing competitiveness. For the Warriors, signing Kai would represent a low-risk, high-potential move. He has already demonstrated his ability to contribute both defensively and offensively, being an efficient finisher near the basket and constantly improving his mid-range shot. Combining this with his competitive mindset and dedication to improvement, he would fit well into the team's system. The fans are excited about this possibility, knowing that players with Kai's skill set and potential are rare. For many, he could be exactly what the team needs to get back to competing for the top spot in the NBA. If you like the content, leave a like to support the channel and subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss anything about the Warriors. Thanks, and see you in the next video.